Logging into our Zoom event this evening. So if we could have your patience for just a couple more minutes before we get started, as we hopefully gain a few more consumers of some good information this evening. I hope that you all had a great weekend. Um, I know personally had a nice weekend yesterday out with my granddaughter and my wife Jody at the Como Zoo. It was a lot of fun. It was a little windy, but we still took in some fun times. The animals were very active. The lions were out, and the tigers, they were talking, they were roaring, which was pretty cool. So we had a fun weekend hanging out there and hanging out with some family. And today spent the day outside, um, actually doing a little bit of work outside and catching up before the snow comes here, maybe this week, possibly. So before we get started, I'd like to double check. Can everybody hear me okay? For those of you that are on the screen, maybe can you give me a thumbs up? All right, very good. I do have everybody muted automatically as you come in. If we get to the point during the Q&A or at some point you have something to share, certainly feel free. We just have to unmute your microphone before you can talk and so forth. All right. Let's see here. I am going to just take and also let everybody know that this is being recorded right now so that we can possibly share some of this with those that maybe were not able to log on this evening as well. And so I just want everybody to know you are on a recorded webinar as well. All right, so it is 7 o'clock, and I'm going to go ahead and work on sharing my slideshow here. Let's see. Here we go. All right. So, welcome everyone to my holiday survival webinar. And I'm super excited to have you with me this evening. I know that this time of year is difficult in terms of like the average person gains about 10 pounds throughout the next few weeks. And if I can do anything to help you at this point in your journey with your health and fitness, if I can help you control this next few weeks, so if we can mitigate the losses, in other words, like if we even can just hold our weight right where we're at for the next few weeks, it's going to be a huge, huge win. And if we happen to lose some weight through a lot of discipline and focus, like that is totally possible. And many of you will probably even do that. But what I'd just like to share with you is like, it is possible to get through the next month or so and not gain that 10, 12 pounds that the average American will gain. So how do we go about doing this? The question I have to ask is, do you have fun during the holidays? It's fun, right? Look at these two pictures and just share a thought with yourself. Like, what do you see in the picture? Maybe on the left, where the young man, he's kind of sitting there. He's got his hand on his forehead. He's kind of staring down at the floor. He looks a bit distressed. He doesn't look too happy, right? And then we got the elation and the party going on next door with all the people like smiling, enjoying each other's company, and all that sort of thing. And what we all know, and I'm sure like many of you have experienced holidays where we have ups and downs. There are positive emotions that come with it. There are good experiences where we share time with family, or maybe the time with family is stressful, and maybe that's a difficult thing for us around the holidays, or maybe we're suffering from a loss, and that's difficult to get through during the holidays. And so sometimes as we go through these holidays, there's so many good things, but also there's heavy things. There's difficult things to deal with. There's maybe financial strain and stress to get through, maybe giving of gifts and so forth. Like there's just all these different things, stresses of work, stresses of going to extra events, like all these things stack up. So yet, hey, yes, it's fun on one hand, but stressful sometimes on the other hand, right? And so in order for us to navigate through the holidays, we have to kind of not only have a strategy with food, but we got to kind of have a strategy with our approach to our life and to our lifestyle as we go through the holidays to hopefully get through the holidays with success. Now, Common holiday side effects. What are they? Well, this is just in my experience and from, being on Earth for 57 years, going through a number of holidays myself, but also through reading and studying this area for a long time. I've got 6 things I want to share in particular. One is lack of sleep. Some of you suffer from a lack of sleep already, but as we go through the holidays, now we're stacking on extra events, extra shopping. For some of you, you might even be working more just to be able to pay for extra things during the holidays. Like all of these things are stacking up. The extra stress leads to a lack of sleep. And so that is like number one. Number two, replacing your gym or dojo routine with another activity. Man, I hope nobody's doing that this year. Guys, getting to the dojo, getting to your workouts, getting to your practices has to remain a priority. Don't let slipping in, going to Target or going to Walmart or going somewhere shopping or going to some other event, like get in the way of your goals each week. You can still get it in. We've got over 30 plus options. I know you guys can figure it out, right? Number three, going off course with nutrition choices. Okay. Many of you, in fact, all of you that have been coming to the dojo for quite some time now, and for many of you that have even been in our current 8-week program that is finishing up and wrapping up right about now, you all know exactly what we should be focusing on, right? And you've employed those things from time to time, probably with a lot of discipline, with a lot of focus. And then we might even be in that moment right now where we're just very focused on what we're doing. We're meal prepping each week. We've got things together that are working for us. And then this holiday stress hits. The schedules change. Things get mixed up. We start going for convenience. So we're going to discuss a little bit quickly, like how do we beat that? How do we not basically succumb to, like, number 4, the overall pattern disturbance in our life? So in other words, most of you that come to the dojo regularly and are working on sleeping better and we're working on eating better, we've developed a pattern. We've developed a pattern of hopefully getting that somewhere between 6 and 8 hours of sleep a night, pushing towards 8 if possible. We've got the pattern of doing some meal prep on a weekly basis. Hopefully that's there, right? We've got the pattern of getting to the dojo at least 3-4 days a week. For some of you, maybe more. For others, maybe just a little bit less, but it's a consistent, regular effort to get there and get your practices in and stay focused. And so what happens oftentimes as we get into this time of year, there's a pattern disturbance. There's a disturbance where now all of a sudden we're getting less sleep. And then maybe before you know it, we're not getting up for that early morning workout, or we're not showing up at the end of the day, at the end of our work day, because we're going to Target or going to the mall or something like that. Something that we maybe could have done on the weekend, but we pushed it off so that we could do something else. And then now we have an issue, right? Number 5, fighting off the fatigue or feeling tired, which of course is caused by all of the things that we've talked about so far: the lack of sleep, poor nutrition choices, things that tend to kind of start to cascade of events, if you will, things that kind of start to happen as we experience going through this busy time. And then number 6, another common thing in some case is, of course, this time of year, it's getting more cloudy out. It's getting a little dark earlier. It's dark when we get up in the morning, dark when we go home at night. And we have this kind of a sad or seasonal affective disorder that kind of kicks in for some of us, that leaves us feeling a little bit blue, right? So, as a reminder, what are our pillars of a healthy lifestyle? Now, we kind of are mirror imaging what we just talked about. Again, this is just a reminder. Number 1, we should be shooting for still trying to get your 7 to 8 hours of sleep, even during this busy time. We should still be focused on trying to get to the dojo at least 3-4 days a week. We should stay hydrated, right? Getting that 8 glasses or more of water per day. Still trying to squeeze in a walk if you can. Eating balanced meals, high in fiber, high in protein, high in nutrient density, and low in calories. Like that's what we want to stay focused on. And then ideally, since the weather is still pretty respectable out there, like I would encourage you getting some time every week, at least once, maybe twice, where you're getting out for a little walk on the trails or getting out in nature, finding some quiet and solitude somewhere. Maybe it's by yourself, maybe it's with a good friend or a loved one, but like getting outside, getting away from your computer, getting away from the cell phone, like turn it off as you go for your walk, or at least put it on, like turn your notifications off, turn your ringer off while you're walking if you can, right? Find some quiet time. Very, very important. So, how do we go back and address the number one area that I think really attacks people first? And this is the lack of sleep. All right. Um, Man, in all of my years of coaching, and now in recent years doing more and more in-depth nutrition coaching, what I can tell you is one of the number one things that holds people back from success, both with making better nutritional choices, with getting their workouts and their exercise, whether it be going to the gym or just simply going for a walk or having the energy to do those things mentally and physically, it's getting enough sleep. And so if we're lacking sleep, we have to really work on a strategy to try to improve that situation. And I would also be the first to recognize it's not always just as simple as going to bed earlier. I know that for many of you, there it's way more complicated, right? Like there are issues going on in terms of your schedule. There might be issues going on in terms of possibly hormonal changes that are going on within your body that make it more difficult for you to fall asleep at night or to sleep in a deep REM sleep for a long enough period of time. So, in other words, we're maybe waking up frequently and so forth. But what we can do is try to set ourselves up for success by trying to stay focused on a few things I'm just going to share real quick. Number one, protect your bedtime hours. So, in other words, man, do everything you possibly can to say, look, if my bedtime is 9 o'clock, my bedtime is 9 o'clock. That's just the way it is. I am going to go to bed whether I get this done or that done or what have you. Like, you have to try to find a space for yourself to rest. Rest is so important. And so, therefore, like, it might change how we manage some of our other waking hours during the day, such that we can hit that target time, plus or minus maybe 30 minutes. All right. So we can stay consistent in our effort to get that sleep. Number two is room hygiene. Room hygiene means like making sure we don't have any bright lights that are causing like light coming in under the door or through the window. Maybe you need blackout curtains. If you have a bright alarm clock or a cell phone that's sitting on a charger next to you that's kind of bright at night, make sure it's dimmed down so that we don't have that light that's distracting you. All right. And noise is another thing. If you have random noise within your household, I know we've gone through periods of time in our household where we've had others, other family members living with us, and they would be awake later than say myself and or Jody, and so there's noise kind of going on within the household. Like at that period of time, that's about the time we started using a white noise machine consistently, and we still use it to this day, even though we're now home alone here. But the white noise has become something that helps us focus on relaxing. It's kind of a trigger after a while if you use it consistently to start getting your brain to dial down those brain waves, to calm down and get you hopefully to sleep a little bit sooner and hopefully a little bit deeper as well. Now, if we're struggling with getting to sleep at night, one of the things that might be helpful is meditation or prayer or things of that nature. So depending on your background and what you might be seeking, some form of prayer meditations can help get us in a place where we're feeling a little bit more comfortable and relaxed. Okay, and there are apps for both out there if you need help with that. So I just encourage you to pursue something in that way. If in fact you're going to bed and you're having a difficult time falling asleep, utilizing an app for excuse me, either meditation or a progressive relaxation and or some form of breathing exercise. We've talked about the benefits of doing various breathing exercises in the dojo a couple of months ago. And so, or actually it was last month with broccoli and breathing, that was the focus. And so We all know that if we take and kind of turn our focus away from what's going on in the environment around us or the stresses of the day, and we can focus inward on what we're feeling and on our breathing and on our process and what we're feeling in our body, all of a sudden the different things that are kind of going on externally, we're not even thinking about it, we're not hearing it, we're not feeling it, we're not seeing it because we're focused introspectively on our bodies. Okay. Another thing that can help is journaling or task list writing before you go to bed. So this month we've been encouraging journaling on your gratitudes. And so that certainly can be beneficial in the sense of looking at, hey, what's good in life? What good happened to me today? Or what are the good things that I can recognize? But number two, for the busy folks out there that maybe like we have a lot of things going on at work, we have a lot of things going on with family, um, task lists. When we first lay down or first get in bed, grabbing a sheet of paper and writing out a task list for the next day or for anything that kind of is on your mind at the moment so that you have the comfort of knowing that you actually have that task list present and you can get up the next day and know that it's there and you're not going to forget about it. So you're not going to lay in bed dwelling on things that maybe you still have to do that you don't have written down and you're worried that you might forget. And so this way, again, it's a way of helping you relax. Okay. And then maybe possibly use of a supplement or two. So possibly a melatonin or valerian are common supplements that can be helpful sleep aids. TFW just came out with a couple new sleep aids. There's a gummy version and there's actually a powder version called Rest. I am just getting to know more and more about them myself, but I know there's melatonin in them and some magnesium, I believe, in them as well, which are both common beneficial supplements when it comes to sleep. And so that might be something you could consider down the road as well. And then finally, prioritizing some downtime. And what I mean by downtime is quiet time. So quiet time aside from sleep. So it could be 10, 15 minutes before you actually go to bed where the TV's off. Maybe there's no cell phone. We're not checking emails. We're not looking at texts. Maybe we're just sitting in a chair. We're processing our day. Maybe that's when you're writing your task list, that sort of thing. But time for your brain to kind of wind down a little bit and to decompress before you go and hit the hay. All right. So those are my sleep suggestions. All right. Now, the next strategy would involve getting the right amount of activity each week, continuing to hammer on getting your workouts, even though we're busy and we got a lot going on. So it's imperative that you still get your strength training in a couple times a week, maybe a little mobility work if you can. Remember, Wednesdays, we have our mobility flow right before our practice or as part of our warm up in our practice. So, getting to the dojo on Wednesdays will take care of that. And then a couple of HIIT classes or some kind of cardio at least twice a week. All right. And what we know is that if you get at least 4 days of 1 hour of fairly intense physical activity per week, that is kind of a minimally acceptable dose or standard of physical activity that it takes to not only maintain, but hopefully improve our physical fitness over time. All right. And so we know this is a well-known fact. Data, science, research has this stuff figured out. We're not just picking these numbers out of the clouds and telling you, hey, you should come 4 days a week because we just want you there 4 days a week. No, this is what science tells us. Science tells us that if we engage in these activities, at least a couple of days a week for strength training, a couple of days a week of HIIT training, get some mobility in the mix, right? We have a formula for success. And anything outside of that on a daily basis does not have to be super intense. It can be going for a hike, going for a walk, maybe, going for a skate. Now that pretty soon we'll have ice outside where you can go do some skating. There's just something that gets you moving, but it's not feeling super intense, right? So you can still be a priority, even though it feels like life's coming unhinged during this time of year for many of you, right? It just literally feels like it's becoming unhinged. But my request to you this holiday would be to just try to keep some focus on yourself, because so many of you, I've gotten to know most of you very well. And what I know is that many of you are very focused on helping others. Like I know it's in your heart, right? I know you want to give to other people. You want to give to other maybe organizations or whatever this time of year. You want to give of your time. I think it's amazing. It's a beautiful thing. But at the end of the day, you still have to protect some time for yourself, right? Because without it, if we don't take care of ourselves, man, it's at some point, it may not be right now. At some point, it's going to become very hard to take care of others. It's going to become very hard to continue to give to other things that we want to give of time, effort, money, whatever it might be. It will become more difficult if you don't take care of yourself now, right? And so please try to keep yourself a priority. Now, nutrition. Here's some naughty choices. Now, don't judge me, guys. Like, these are some things I know you all love at this time of year. And don't worry, I'm going to give you some nice choices too. So, we got some naughty choices and some nice choices, right? So, the naughty choices would be things that we have to be, I'm not going to say eliminate, all right? I'm going to say be careful of how much of these things you eat. So, small portions probably would be the key with these things if you have them. If you have them. So, one is stuffing, right? Man, especially at Thanksgiving, a lot of people make some amazing stuffing and it's some good stuff, but it can be overdone in terms of consumption. Gravy, cranberries, dinner rolls. Dinner rolls are something short of a candy bar, guys. Like, there's so much sugar in this stuff. Got to realize it that when you eat some of these things, there's a lots of sugar there. There's lots of processed nutrients there that are may or may not necessarily be good for you. I realize it's one day out of the year, right? And so for those of you that have been working super hard and you've been losing weight and you're doing super well, like, I would just tell you, like, hey, maybe you do indulge a little bit with something, but watch the portion size, keep them small. Um, Green bean casserole. Okay, again, really yummy, but watch how much, because the calories really add up. Cookies, sweet potato casserole. Man, my son-in-law makes a killer sweet potato casserole. Like, it just melts in your mouth. But I've got to be careful how much of that I eat. I love it, but I got to be careful how much I eat, right? Appetizers with cream cheese involved, or different dips that are made with, really high fat dressings, things of that nature. Trying to be careful there. Cheese and crackers and so forth, like, those calories can really add up a lot if we're, again, over consuming. And then alcohol and eggnog, that sorts of thing. Um, we all know that people partake in these things at this time of year. And what I can just tell you is you have a choice to make. I'm about to go over the nice choices. And what I want you to understand is that maybe it's a mixture of the naughty and nice. All right. And if you choose some of the naughty, make sure that we keep the naughty side just minimal and we try to focus more on the nice. Now, what is the nice choices? What are they? We want to focus more on veggies, of course. So if you are going to an event or you are hosting an event, like, if I'm going to go somewhere, I'm usually one of the people that likes to offer to bring some kind of vegetables, right? So it's maybe, a veggie plate of some sort, or maybe it's a vegetable dish. But those are things we want to have available. So if you are attending an event at someone else's home, but you can bring something, a dish to pass, and that sort of thing, maybe that's the offering that you make, right? We want to focus on lean meats or lean turkey. The leaner turkey would be your white meat more so. Again, if you really love the dark meat, I'm not saying don't have it, but maybe just watch how much of it you have and focus a little more on the lean stuff. Fruit is good. Green salads, quinoa salad, fruit salad, baked sweet potato. So here we go. Here's a sweet potato, but maybe it's not fully loaded, with the marshmallows and the brown sugar and the butter and all the things that go into that really yummy sweet potato casserole. So maybe just a regular sweet potato. Shrimp cocktails or smoked salmon's another good choice. Making sure we get water in the mix. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that as we go forward. And then if you do have bread, like trying to focus on whole grain breads or 12 grain breads within your choices. Okay, so here we are. We have the naughty, we have the nice. Okay, and what I'm suggesting is, hey, we can get through this holiday by maybe picking a few more of the nice choices and a couple of the naughty choices. Enjoy it, have some fun. Don't deny yourself, but be careful to not overindulge. Okay. Holiday hydration. So I mentioned we are going to talk about this in a little more depth. We all know that we're supposed to get roughly half our body weight in ounces of water per day. Now, for some of us, like that's a challenge. That's definitely a challenge. What I would say is this: maybe a better way to look at it might be to try and drink one big glass of water before every meal. Okay, so we just throw down a nice glass of water. Maybe it's 5 to 10 minutes before we eat. It's been known to decrease people's appetite and help slow down our eating process, and we'll have reach a degree of fullness just a little bit sooner. Okay, so try to get that water in before a meal. Number two, a glass of water between any alcohol consumed. So for some of you, I know like this time of year, you have a lot of social events. You've got work events, you've got family events, you've got the stress that some of you might turn to alcohol even to medicate a little bit during stressful times. And I hope that you can keep that to a minimum or not do it and find other ways to manage your stress. But let's be real, I know that some do it. Okay. So what I would say is just slow it down, try to make sure we're consuming some water in between and abstain on days when you can. So maybe if we have 2, 3 days in between events or that sort of thing, maybe we're trying to abstain altogether and knowing that we want to enjoy maybe a drink or two at a party or event that we're going to be going to later in the week, right? And then another rule of thumb might be 8 cups or more per day. So that's 64 ounces, could be a good general rule. Um, if we're eating 3 or 4 times a day, we're throwing down a glass of water with each one. We're off to a very good start. And then we just need to sip a little water in between there to reach that 64 ounces. Okay. If you need to drink something that's maybe a flavored water, there are a lot of new flavored waters out there. So you've got the ice water, you got the types of water where you have something that you add to it. Say maybe it's a rehydrate or it's a um, like a Mio kind of flavored water, or they have the new probiotic. They kind of taste like sodas, poppy drinks that are out there. Some of these things are maybe a little more expensive, but they have flavor, and there's actually some health benefits to consuming them. And so, for a few of them, that might be a avenue that you could pursue as you look to try to stay more hydrated this holiday season. Okay. So there's a question at the bottom of this slide for our next discussion, and that is, what can you give back this year? Now, I don't know how many of you have ever done like a kind of a white elephant gift type thing. I know on my wife Jody's side, we've done a kind of a white elephant thing at our holidays for a number of years. And what it tends to be is these kind of funny things that tend to get regifted back and forth to people. And sometimes there's new things that come in the mix, and sometimes there's things that just seem to have longevity and are kind of hilarious and keep getting passed around, right? Well, that's not really what I'm talking about this time of year. What I'm talking about is things that you can give back this holiday season that might bring some comfort to you, that might actually allow you to help someone else get through the holidays. And we all know that if we can find a way to help others, ultimately that brings good karma back to us. Ultimately, I think if we can make someone else feel better at a time of year when maybe they're stressed out or maybe they're going through a difficult time, there's a certain level of fulfillment, I guess I would say, to us as individuals if we're able to provide that to someone else, right? And so, hey, just giving a listen. Like we're coming off a time where there was an election. And I'm not going to talk too much about politics, but what I'm going to say is we're coming off a time when everybody's been sharing their opinions. Well, I shouldn't say everybody, but many people have been sharing their opinions about things, right? And some people are just persistent about sharing their opinions about all kinds of things, not just politics. And then there are times when people have this need, and I certainly have this need as well sometimes, to just be able to talk to somebody if I'm having a difficult day or going through a difficult time or something, right? And so, given a listen, just listening to someone share their difficulties, you don't necessarily have to provide the solution, okay? You don't necessarily have to have the answers, but giving a listen can be really beneficial to that individual, but then also it can come back to us, kind of giving us good karma back, right? Giving a hug. Guys, I realize not everybody's comfortable giving hugs. Some of you have heard, you know, my stories about hugs, but I'm just here to tell you a good hug is usually a comforting thing, right? Throwing a high five. Hey, if you're not comfortable giving a hug to somebody, maybe it's throwing them a high five or giving them a knuckle, you know, a tap, bam, good job, or bam, hang in there, okay? Find ways to communicate with people that you're comfortable with and move forward with that, but try to connect. The power of touch is so important in the healing process for people, and I think that's something that we're all capable of, either a hug, a high five, or a fist bump. Like we could all do it, right? And then the fourth thing up there is a compliment. So, man, if you know somebody's just kind of having the blues, things are kind of just, they're not having a great day, or maybe they're having a horrible week, can you find something to maybe throw a compliment at it, right? Like, hey, man, I really love your shoes. Like, where did you get those shoes? Right? Get their mind off whatever they might be talking about and get them coming back with a little conversation with you. Or maybe there's something, some quality about that person that you really like that you could compliment them with. Again, try to get their mind off the bad stuff and onto something good, right? And then finally, a smile. A smile. Man, um, so many things can be said with our body language, and a simple smile just goes a long way. I can be shopping at a grocery store or at Menards, which is where I go more than a grocery store probably. But hey, if I'm waiting in line or I'm going down the aisle and I see somebody and I throw them a little smile, I don't know necessarily who the person is, but maybe they throw a smile back to me and say hello, right? But if I just kind of no emotion, no energy, I'm not paying any attention to the individual, maybe, you know, it's not such a great experience, or maybe they cut me off or whatever the thing might be. But if I recognize them and just simply give them a little smile and a nod, that's all it takes, right? And so I just encourage you to smile more and frown less. Now, if you do all this stuff and you're still not feeling good, all these good things, these good positive things that you might be trying to do to lift your spirits, and you're still feeling a little bit down, we might be suffering from a little bit of this SAD, right? This seasonal affective disorder. And guys, like, it happens to many of us, and it kind of comes and goes oftentimes. Some struggle with it more than others. But what oftentimes this leads to is the thing on the bottom, emotional eating. And so I would caution you, as we kind of head into these winter months and things certainly are a little darker out there, that we find ways to stay ahead of this particular situation the best that we can. One of the things that we can do is we can for sure be supplementing with vitamin D throughout the winter. So if you are not doing that here in the Northland, that is something you definitely should be doing. But here are some other suggestions, okay? I'm sounding like a broken record here, aren't I? Number one, it's getting more activity, like using the gym, get outside, move your body, play some pickleball, like go do some arts and crafts, like Stay involved. Don't sit alone at home. Get out of the house. Number two, exercise early or late to counteract the blues. Like if you tend to wake up in the morning and you're just feeling really kind of down and low energy, like that might be the exact time that you need to force yourself to get out of the house and come to the dojo, or just get on the treadmill and walk for 20 to 30 minutes at home if you have some equipment at home. But try to move your body, lift your spirits, get your body awake, and get moving. Right. Maybe for some of you, it comes more towards the end of the day. And maybe that's the time when you got to do it. But everybody's different and there is no one solution. But I would just encourage you to kind of be self reflective and evaluate for yourself how you're feeling and what we might need to do to strategize to beat this. Okay. Number three, eat a high fiber, high protein diet. And yes, avoid alcohol. Alcohol is a depressant. And so if we're already feeling just a little bit depressed, like, man, that's probably not the thing to add in the mix. If you need something that maybe gives you some enjoyment, but we're trying to abstain from alcohol, like now more than ever, there's alternatives out there. There's mocktails, which has really become a big thing the last year and a half. It's all over social media and so forth, where they're making drinks that maybe kind of mimic or taste a little bit like an alcoholic beverage, but they're not alcoholic. And so this might be something that you could consider trying a little bit. And if you Google it, I'm sure you'll be able to come up with all kinds of possibilities of how to do it in different flavors and so on and so forth. Consider planning social events that you enjoy with others. You know, maybe it's a card night, maybe it's going bowling, maybe it's a book night. Um, I don't know what it is or what you enjoy. Again, each of you have your own preferences in your life, but I would just encourage you, like, hey, what else can you possibly consider doing this winter as we move forward through the holidays that might keep you from falling into kind of a more depressive state, right? We want to stay I would say, engaging with other human beings as much as we can and doing things that we enjoy that bring us joy, that will build us up, not tear us down. Okay. The other thing to consider is the use of a happy light. So, a happy light's like a light that you can put on your desk or that you can put in your home that you can sit in front of for a period of time. What they say is probably a minimum of at least 30 minutes. Some people say they get some benefit from less time with the happy light, other people longer. So, some people it might only be 15 minutes, other people it might be an hour to get some sort of treatment effect from the light. But what we know is that regular incorporation of that can be helpful if you are an individual that kind of struggles with this type of thing. Okay. And the other thing, oh, I jumped ahead of myself. The other thing here, I got my toolbars in the way, so I'm trying to get to what I have on my last thing. Talk with your physician. That's what I'm trying to say. So my toolbar was hiding that line. I apologize. But yeah, if you're getting through all these things, and hey, you seriously know, like maybe I'm still feeling just a little blue on a daily basis, there's nothing wrong with talking to your doctor about it and getting some help, right? And so I just encourage you to, again, be self reflective or evaluate for yourself where you're really at. And if we need to get some help, get yourself some help. It's so important. All right. All right. Now, let's assume we've done all these things, right? But yet, Brian, I just need a challenge. I need a challenge to motivate me, right? Well, I've got the answer for you. It's our no gain holiday challenge. All right. It's a $5 buy in. You sign up on the sheet at the dojo. We're going to weigh in between Friday, November 22nd and Wednesday, November 27th. And if you keep the weight off, you're going to get your money back. If you gain weight, you're going to lose your money, unfortunately, but your money will get redistributed. The pot will get redistributed to those that either keep the weight off or lose weight during the holidays. And we have had about 35 to 45 people the last couple of years who have done this challenge. Last year, I think, was our biggest one. I think we actually were right around 50 people, and we had a little more than half actually lose weight or keep it off last year. Okay. So it can be a nice segue I shouldn't say segue. It can be a nice motivator for those of you that like the kind of the little bit of competition, a little bit of challenge during this time, and a little bit of a reason to dig a little deeper as you're making some of these decisions. So we're about to wrap this up. And in conclusion, what I want to kind of share with you is a quick story. This story actually comes from the book of 5 Things written by Martin Rooney, and it is a story of the good wolf and the bad wolf. All right. And so I'm going to read to you tonight, real quick, part of the story. It says here, one evening, a grandfather told his grandson about a battle that goes on inside people. He said, "Grandson, the battle is between 2 wolves inside of all of us. One wolf is bad. It represents anger, fear, jealousy, sorrow, regret, guilt, and inferiority. The other wolf is good. It represents peace and love and hope and humility, kindness, truth, and health." The grandson thought about this, and he says to his grandfather, he says, "Man, I feel like these wolves are battling inside of me too. Like, which of the wolves will win?" And the grandfather says, "The one that you feed the most," right? And what I would challenge you to think about, and maybe there's another way to look at this story. The grandfather says, "Hey, the one that you feed the most will be the one that wins." Um, I would suggest maybe you think about which one could be the better negotiator. Like, are you going to allow the bad wolf to be the better negotiator or the good wolf to be the better negotiator? Are you the type of person that can um, negotiate a better deal when you go to buy a car? Are you the type of person who advocates for yourself with other things? Like, you're probably the type of person then that the good wolf maybe tends to win just a little bit more often. But if you're the type of person that hates conflict, you hate to uh, ask for that better price or for the upgrade for the same price, whatever the case might be, then you know what? Negotiating might be a little bit more difficult thing for you, but it doesn't mean that you can't do it. What it means is that we have to focus and discipline a little bit more. We have to be prepared and we have to be ready to negotiate with the bad wolf such that the good wolf can come out on top, right? So the good wolf's got to be the better negotiator. And so I just encourage you to have a strategy. This is how we prepare. Having your meal prep ready each week as we go through the week. The bottom line is that whether there's 3 events, 4 events, 5 events throughout the next month, that's only 4, 5, 6, maybe it's 8 events out of how many meals that you might eat over the course of this entire month. One of the slides I put up when I was promoting this webinar kind of broke down a bunch of numbers. There's over 100 meals we're going to partake in, but yet like maybe only 6, 7, or 8 are like where we're at these events that we have to be a little mindful, a little more careful so that we don't kind of mess up the rest of the time. And what I find is that when we maybe go to that holiday party where things slip a little, then the next day we let things slip a little. And the day after that, we let things slip a little. So try to jump back on track with your strategy. Be prepared for the week as you go through each and every week this month. Start with the small stuff. The small stuff's going to be like, hey, might not seem so small, but really like getting to bed on time, getting that sleep, getting your water in, having that water in between meals or before a meal and in between drinks, like big stuff. Those are little things, but they're big things. Okay. Don't forget what you deserve. You deserve to feel good. You deserve to treat yourself with respect. You deserve to be a good steward of your bodies, right? You deserve wellness if you just take the time to be the better negotiator and let the good wolf win. Decide on your non-negotiables. Demonstrate some sisu and some perseverance in your process, and you will come out on top. Guys, that is all I got tonight. All right. I hope you found this valuable. I hope that it instilled some enthusiasm in your process for the next 3 to 4 weeks and that you can buckle in with a process that works for you. And if you have questions, I am happy to take them now. I am going to stop my screen share. And if you have any questions for me right now, I'm just going to be on the screen to answer them for as long as I need to. And if there are no questions, this concludes our webinar this evening. I'm so happy. Do not eat cranberries. What about fruit? Well, the thing with cranberries, like there's like if you eat, so a lot of times the cranberries come in like a cranberry sauce. So there's like added sugar in with a lot of that. So if you had just cranberries without like the sauce and so forth, that'd be one thing. But I would say in general with fruit, we want to focus more on like raspberries, blueberries, strawberries, things of that nature. Those are pretty low glycemic. And if we're eating them and if we're in their like raw state without mixed in with a bunch of other sugar, like they're going to be just fine. So that's what I would suggest for fruit. But there's nothing wrong with other fruits either. Um, fructose in general takes longer to digest. So it's got to go through an extra step in your liver to actually impact your blood sugar. And so where we want to kind of watch that is that it is still a sugar, but yet it's better than say eating cookies. So if you're in a situation where maybe you've already had one cookie, you did the little naughty and you had one, and now like you're trying to be nice, you're trying to pick something that's just a little bit healthier. Maybe the next time you go back, it's a little bit of fruit. That would be a better choice than another cookie. Okay. So hopefully that answers your question there. I'm going to pull up my chat bar. I don't think I'm seeing any other questions right now. Let me know if I'm missing anything, warriors. Stephanie says she has a Happy Light and she uses it in the winter during her morning routine. Seems to have helped through the winter months. So awesome. I've had a couple other people mention to me recently that they were starting to use their Happy Lights. So I would highly encourage it if you feel like you may need that. Rick says suggestions about vitamin D. I would say just go to your local pharmacy or Target or Walmart and get your vitamin D. I know a lot of people lately have been consuming a lot of that kind of stuff in the form of gummies. I don't know that you have to do that, but for some people, I will share this. Like I've been taking a lot of my vitamins, my collagen, some antioxidants through gummies through Abacare. And what I've found is because I actually kind of enjoy the taste of them, I've been very much more consistent with taking them over time. And so I think the consistency with which you take it's probably the most important thing. Vivek, I don't have a particular brand that I would recommend. I would just make sure that you are taking it on a regular, consistent basis through the winter months at least.